Hey guys, it's me again, Dr. Chatter, and I know I was gone for like 3 months and I'm making more videos now, but I didn't forget my promise to you. I said I'd be back at Faithfest, and I went to Faithfest. It was on August 25th, and of course I'm the only seemingly resident atheist that goes there. It's usually just me sitting at a table by myself. But I had a new questionnaire. I got a few people to fill it out. Some of you even filled out some of the old ones as well. So I'll go over those results with you here. There's actually some surprises that I found out about. So more on that. My questionnaire only had 8 questions this time. These are questions about things in the Bible that I wanted to see if the people knew about them, if their Bible mentioned them this way, and, you know, just generally how they would respond and what they would say to me. And of course, the common question was, what church do you go to? And I say, I don't go to church. And they're like, huh? And I'd tell them I was baptized Methodist in Albuquerque, New Mexico. I got confirmed Presbyterian when I was in Mason City, Iowa. And I got rebaptized in the Des Moines River on a canoe trip at a Lutheran Bible camp that I went to because my sister worked there. And she thought, hey, you like canoeing? Here's a canoeing trip. You can go there, you learn about God and all this other stuff. God, that camp sucked. I'm sorry it did. I'm glad I didn't have to stay at that camp. But I'm also glad that the canoe trip was more fun. But man, it is literally like propaganda the whole time. And it was really dawning on me at that point. But I tried. I tried multiple times. It didn't work. Just don't believe. But I have been studying the Bible and looking at things that people like to say they know, think they know, and then question them about it. So you will see, I will show you the questions, and I'll show you them again here in a little bit. But I actually made a mistake on this one. In fact, I made 2 mistakes. So we'll be back with that. Here's some footage from Faithfest. Hello everyone, and here I am again. This is Faithfest 2018. Let me just spin it around. Everyone's still kind of setting up. I'm already ready. Let's see what they're doing. Now, as you may know, this is put on by the Faith Riders. It's a motorcycle club. And as close as they'll let me be is next to the event. They won't let me go into the event because I'm atheist and they welcome all faiths, although they don't acknowledge all faiths, only Christianity. But you just missed them practicing. They were practicing a song. But I'm here to give out free water and to poll them again. So I'll just show you those questions really quick so you can see them for yourself. And of course there's my sign for free water, very ragtag. But yeah, that's Faithfest. So or this is Faithfest rather. So we'll see how it goes. We'll see what conversations I get into. I'll talk about it later. I don't usually film the conversations, but I take the information down and I pull it up and put it into pie charts usually. So we'll see how they do this year. Last year they weren't too good with Jewish words, and the year before that some of their ideas about religious freedom and all that other stuff was a little, stereotypical of what they would say, and not, in many people's opinion, the right answer. So, talk to you later. Did you see that questionnaire? Okay, so because I was on limited time, limited space, I kind of did this last minute, but I was thinking about the questions for about 2-3 weeks before I came up with these, and tried to phrase them in the best possible way I could. But, I actually forgot to mention number 3, did God ever accept a human sacrifice? I wanted it in the OT, so I actually wrote it on a bunch of these. hoping they would see that, because the first 4 were supposed to be Old Testament, the last 4 New Testament. But I also, in question 6, I changed the phrasing on this one and screwed up, so it said, how much did Jesus charge the people he healed, he healed? Well, I can't blame that on the alcohol. That was the lack of sleep. Because, like I said, I haven't been drinking lately. Did you notice? I haven't been taking a drink for like the last couple things. Oh wait, well, here, I'll lie for once. This is actually just Pepsi. So, yeah, nothing in it, just Pepsi. Ooh, caffeine. And fizz. I like it. It's good. Anywho, let's start off with the whole thing. At the top I have the header that said, you may pass or abstain on any question. You may quote, paraphrase, or cite any text. Should be pretty simple for them at that point. They can quote, cite, paraphrase any text. And, you know, they don't even have to tell me they did it. They could if they want. I didn't say they had to. Anywho, age is one of the things I wanted them to fill out. I wanted to know who was saying it, if it was the older crowd or the younger crowd. Got a lot of people that are around my age, maybe a little younger, but not too young, so it doesn't really matter. Like always, everybody just wants my free water. Although, there was something interesting that happened with the free water, so I'll tell you that in a little bit. Anywho, next one, Bible of choice. Wanted to know what Bible they're using. Maybe they're reading something in one Bible that it doesn't say in another Bible. Well, I don't know. It could happen. Do you ever hear of, was it Henry VIII's Wicked Bible? Where it actually said, thou shalt commit adultery, instead of thou shalt not commit adultery? Yeah, that happened. What was that, 1361 or something like that? I don't know, somewhere around there. Don't know. Don't quote me on that date. Anywho, wanted to know their faith and denomination. Are the faiths and denominations, are they viewing that as different things? Are they viewing it as, you know, whether they're just Christian or Protestant or Catholic or what? Wanted to know that. If they were a local, yes or no. Where from, if not, you know. So, then the last one I said, have you read your Bible in its entirety? Yes, no, only part. Didn't expect too many people to fill that one out, but wanted to see what they do anyway. These are just carryovers from my original demographic gathering when I went there the first year. So the whole top part is basically the same. Even the bottom part down here, thank you for participation, have an awesome day. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. I'm kind of prodding the bear there. But, yeah, that's obviously a Christian pun. Threw it in there, hopefully ease the tension, but come on. A lot of times this year I was just saying have a good one. That's what I normally say. Oh well, can't win them all, especially when you're sober. Anyway, short answers, I'll go through them really quickly for you. Number 1, how many days was Noah on the ark? 2, were Lot's daughters virgins during the visit of the 2 angels? 3, did God ever accept a human sacrifice in the Old Testament? 4, what did Malachi say about the laws of Moses? That was the Old Testament. And we'll say, let's see, number 5, are the Gospels actual eyewitness accounts? That's a good one. How much did Jesus charge the people he healed? I'm not saying it a second time. Not this time. I'm being professional. Stop laughing. Number 7. What did Jesus ask for when he fed the hungry? 8. Did Jesus ever speak of non-Jewish people as inferior? If you study a lot of Bibles, and I looked a lot of this up, King James Version, NIV, even have a Jewish Tanakh, which I was using to see what they said. Well, here's what they said. Number 1, how many days was Noah on the ark? 375. Unless it was a leap year, then 376. We don't know. All we know is it was his 600th year of life that he got on the ark on the, was it the 17th day of the second month? So that would be, supposedly, February 17th. Alright? Okay. God didn't open the door and let him out until the 27th day of the second month of his 601st year. What did most people say? Well, let's see. We got one here, a 28-year-old, said 40 days. We got another 28-year-old here, said 40 days. We got a 42-year-old here that said 40. We got an abstaining age person that said 40. And yeah, they all said 40. And I talked about it with other people, and they thought the number was 42. So, yeah. They just paid attention to what they wanted to pay attention to, and they did not actually read their Bible. At least some of them were honest when they did circle that they only read part of the Bible. So, I guess they got that right. Okay, so number 2, Lot's daughters virgins during the visit of the two angels. Well, it actually says in the Bible that Lot sent someone to go tell the husbands of his daughters. If they were just married and had a honeymoon or a night together, yeah, maybe I can accept the fact that you'd think they were virgins. But if they've been married for a few days, weeks, months, probably not. They probably aren't virgins anymore. Just saying. And still, while we're on the subject, isn't it a little disgusting, sickening, if you will, that a father who cares about his daughters deeply would just hand them over to this weird crowd of neighbors who just want to rape them or stab them or whatever? Just, yeah, go ahead. Nope, you can't have these guys. Just take these guys. Do whatever you want to them. That's messed up. That's a shitty dad. A really shitty dad. What did the people say about number 2? No. Hey, they got one right. Yes, they got one wrong. Yes, got it wrong. Didn't answer. Alright, well that's nice. Thanks for not answering, I guess. Number 3. Did God ever accept a human sacrifice in the Old Testament? Well, that depends. Did God ever accept an offering, a human sacrifice in the Old Testament? Depends on who you ask. There are actually 4 or 5 schools, I think it is, of biblical thought for the Old Testament. The J school, the E school, the P school, the D school, and the R school. The R school is revisionist. The other 4 are basically big long canons that share parts of each other, but not the whole story. So J was written first, and it stands for Yahwist, but J because it was named Yahwist in Germany. Thanks, guys. Then E was the Elohimist, I think, Elohim. They called God Elohim instead of Yahweh. I can't remember what P is right off the hand, but D I think is Deuteronomical. It's that word that starts with D. And R is revisionist. So that was like the revisionism where they were kind of cleaning everything up, making it more cohesive. And that's basically where we get the modern Old Testament. But in the E school, I believe it was, the E school said that Abraham did kill Isaac. But then later the D school came around and said, no, actually an angel stepped in and stopped it. So that's the kind most commonly known. Let's see what they said. No. 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 And yes. Now, this lady walked away from me. I saw this lady. I know she walked away from me. And She was probably watching her kids play in the playground nearby, but I think she might have been trying to look up answers online. So, good job if you were. And she even wrote Abraham's son, which is Isaac. So I just mentioned that. But the one thing the other three don't realize is there was a character named, Jephthah, and he fought against the Ammonites and Midianites and did this great battle and said, God, if you help me win, I will slaughter them all, and then I will make a burnt offering sacrifice to you of the first thing to come out of my house when I get home. God granted it. He slaughtered the Ammonites and Midianites, or whatever it was in the story, went home, and his daughter was the first thing to come out. His only child, his only daughter, comes out to greet him when he gets home. And he says, I can't go back on my word. I have to kill you and set you on fire as a sacrifice to God. I promised. And she's like, okay, well, I'm going to go up to the top of this hill. I'm going to wail about not being able to find a husband and not being able to lose my virginity and all that stuff. And I'll come back down after, like, was it 40 days or something? 20 days, 40 days. Come back down and you can kill me then. And the father's like, okay. So she took some friends up there. They all moaned and wailed, did whatever, I don't know. And then she came back down and he cut her throat and set her on fire, just like a burnt offering or an olah is performed. And even ancient Jewish historians and theologians and people that were passing this story down, they all agreed he killed her. That was a human sacrifice to God. So all the ones that said no, they're wrong. And all the people that are preaching that, oh no, they just sacrificed her virginity because that's what they were bewailing about. It's like, well, that doesn't really fly with the face that there are historical accounts, written accounts, where people were still going on pilgrimages to this supposed mountain, and it would be around the same time every year, which they said was supposedly related to the story of that's when she mourned, so they went there to mourn for her, and it was typically done by women. So it doesn't really seem fit that they would just go up there and be like, oh, it's so sad, you'll never be able to get married and have sex, and you have to be a virgin eternally because your virginity was sacrificed to some all-knowing God in the sky. Well, no, they wouldn't do that because no one did that. They did do sacrifice. They did do burnt offerings. And that's what it said they did. Do you think he would be that aggrieved if he just had to take her virginity? I mean, yeah, that's disgusting, but at the same time, isn't that kind of what happened to produce the Ammonites and Midianites? That was the whole Lot's daughters having sex with him in the cave. And they weren't virgins. They knew what to do. I think I might be proved my point. Anywho, number 4 was, what did Malachi say about the laws of Moses? Well, that's Old Testament. And what he said is you got to keep the covenant with God, or God will keep smiting you. Every time you break it, he fucks with you. Well, guess what? Like, nobody remembers that, typically. They all say, oh, well, there's a new covenant now, because Jesus made a new covenant, so we don't have to follow the old covenant. God was specific and said you had to follow it until the end of time. Seems weird if someone else would come and say, no, you don't. And then other people would come along and say, oh yeah, we had no real good connection to either one of them, but you could do even less. A lot of you people don't know your Christian history that well. Number 4, this guy, or person, whoever it was that, this was the lady. She abstained to tell us her age. But, what did Malachi say about the laws of Moses? Did he say to keep them? Question mark. I want to give you a full point, but I don't think I can quite give you a full point because you're questioning, not answering. Short answer, not short question. What did Malachi say about the laws of Moses? Follow them. There we go. There's a nice short answer. 1 point for him. Oh, he also thought the daughters were virgins when the angels met, and that there was no sacrifice, and that Noah was only on the ark for 40 days. So he got one. This one, question mark? While brevity is awesome, again, I said answer, not question. What did Malachi say about the laws of Moses? Left it blank. It's fine, he can abstain from any question. Whatever. But isn't it weird that the people that say they know this stuff and that follow this stuff don't really know this stuff and don't really follow it? I think it's weird. 'Cause if I'm an atheist and I know more, that's a bad sign for your group. On to number 5. Are the Gospels actual eyewitness accounts? Well, according to most theologians and scholars that study the Bible, no. No, they aren't. In fact, there are many times where the author says, this is according to so-and-so who knows so-and-so. It's a game of telephone. It was collected by a bunch of people over long periods of time, written, rewritten. No, it didn't happen. In fact, it was what, like 40 years after the death of Jesus. So death of Jesus around 30 AD, or CE, if you want to go with the more correct term that's not religiously biased at all. CE, Common Era. And then in 70 CE, you get to start getting the letters of Paul and books of Paul, who didn't really have any affiliation with them at all and seemed to be going against a lot of things they said, such as not preaching to Gentiles. But anywho, it wasn't for like 100 years or so after the supposed death of Jesus that you start getting the books of Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. 100 years later, he was a god. But when people were first starting being introduced to his stories and the letters through Paul, he was just a man. Think about that. They're not eyewitness accounts. There's not a large group of scholars that would admit that or say that is a fact, because it's not a fact. The ones that do like to say it are the evangelicals and the apologeticists that we see a lot in the media today. People like, who is that? Prager? You know, the Prager University guy? He's horribly misinforming everybody. Plus he's lying, and it's just a YouTube channel. He doesn't run a university. And it was funded large part by evangelical people with motives, political, religious, and otherwise. But what did people say about, are they eyewitness accounts? Yes. Yes. No. Hey, he got 2 points. Out of 6. Not looking good so far. But he got another point. That's impressive. And yes. So everyone that answered yes was of course wrong. Let's go to that next messed up question. How much did Jesus charge the people he healed? Let's just start with their answers. It might be easier and less damaging to our psyches. Or not. Nothing. Forgiveness of sins. That brings up an interesting point. Remember how he never healed the leper? He only made them clean. They thought disease and sin were synonymous. He wasn't actually healing, he was blessing. But at the same time, they said it was healed, even though they didn't even have a way to judge what it was, let alone how to fix it. So people should really be rethinking how they think about Jesus' so-called healings. People not noticing a woman and all of a sudden she jumps up and says, I'm healed because she touched him. That sounds like a scam. Everybody else was touching them. Why weren't they healed? Because they didn't have true faith? Because they weren't in on it. It smells funny. That's all I'm saying. It doesn't seem believable. But from what she put, nothing. Yes, as far as I know, he never charged anyone for anything. This person also said nothing, so that's 3. That's pretty good. Nothing, free of charge. 6, my favorite answer, not a penny. So I find it funny when you see people say that, and then you're like, oh, so you must like affordable health care, like the Affordable Health Care Act, you must like Medicare, Medicaid, the social programs that we have. And they say no. You don't like people getting free health care? You like Jesus. He gave it to everyone. What's wrong with you? We'll give them a pass on that. They all pretty much got it. And of course, you know, Jesus would have never charged them a penny, so ironically, he's even right literally, not just figuratively. They didn't have pennies at that point in time. Number 7. What did Jesus ask for when he fed the hungry? Well, there's many ways to look at this. You could look at this like the loaves and fishes. He asked for people to take up a collection and go buy some food for the hungry people, because the hungry people and him had been out there for 3 days. People didn't have any food. They were all hungry. And he's like, we can't turn them away hungry. They might collapse on the road back home. Let's take a collection, get them some food, feed them. And they're like, we need 200 denarii. We can't get that much. So he's like, okay, see if anyone has food. And a boy came up, and I think it was 5 loaves or 7 loaves, something like that, and 2 fish. And then Jesus did his thing and fed everybody with that small amount of food. And this was supposed to be, you know, like a couple thousand people. Not an easy task with all those things. That's supposedly one of his miracles that made him a sign of being part of God's kingdom and having power and authority from God, is the ability to feed all these people. So he did ask for a collection to be taken and food to be bought and distributed, and he did ask for them to find somebody that had food. He did not charge them anything for the food. In fact, he then got on a boat and went away. So, kind of terse, short, little. Well, this person who said not a penny didn't answer that. This person said Thanksgiving. What did Jesus ask for when he fed the hungry? Nothing. Okay, that person's taking it seriously. That's good. They answered. What did Jesus ask for when he fed the hungry? Bread and 2 fish. We'll let that one slide. Close enough. Did Jesus ever speak of a non-Jewish person as inferior? No. Well, he screwed that one up. Why do I say this? Because he kept saying that his message were only for the lost sheep of Israel. Not to go to the Gentiles, not to go to the Samaritans. That it was food for humans and not for dogs. Which he said to the supposedly Canaanite woman, who at that time, weren't the Canaanites supposed to have been wiped out? So how'd that happen? Secondly, he just referred to her as a dog, a non-Jewish woman as a dog. That means inferior. That is a Middle Eastern insult. And she said, but don't dogs get scraps for the master? She talked back to him, proved him wrong as a woman speaking. And mind you, Christianity's had trouble with women speaking up, hence the verse, woman should keep quiet in silence and subjugation and study, and not to speak up in church, but to propose her questions to her husband or the elder, and then have them raise it in front of everybody. But she talked back to him, the Canaanite woman, and said, "Aren't it? Even dogs get scraps from the master." And Jesus was like, "Oh, your faith is so good, I will go heal your daughter." Which is him saying, "Oh, you know I'm your master? Okay, doggy, lead. And I will be your master, and you will be my serf, my slave, my servant." The same thing that this theology has been promoting a lot. Very strict authoritarian hierarchy with masters and servants. So, yeah, this guy failed me. He was a nice guy. He just moved into the area. So I remember him because I remember seeing he wrote ESV on there. And I can't remember what ESV is, but I'm sure I got it written down somewhere. I did tell him the one about Noah, though. He was surprised about that. Other people ever speak of non-Jews as inferior? This one said no. That's a fail. Speak of non-Jews as inferior? No. That's a fail. 8. Did he ever speak of non-Jews as inferior? Oh, hey, this person wrote a long answer. Okay, I clearly wrote short answer. It starts off with no, so wrong. He does say something like, "If you love only those who love you, do not even the Gentiles do that. But this, not regarding them or inferior, is just people who haven't been reached yet." Now, I think that's their interpretation of this. If you love only who love you, don't even the Gentiles do that. Well, that's a diss on the Gentiles. Right there. That's another Jewish diss against the Gentiles, where he's speaking about them as inferiors. Sorry for yelling, but when I yell, people start paying attention. And if they pay attention long enough, they might learn something. And when you learn something, knowledge changes the world. Now, before I go though, I promised you something special. Here it is. Alright, that was Faithfest 2018. I showed you a little bit of it. Let me show you what it looks like now.
No. Alright, hey, we'll do it one more time for break, man.
Now, I'm surprised that no one actually talked about my shirt. You know, you would think they would have figured that one out, but had some good conversations with people. A few people filled out some of my surveys. A couple of them filled out surveys from last year, so I got a little bit more data. But I noticed something. You know, where I'm positioned is really close to there, as usual, but the same distance away from them, if you can see it, in the bushes. Just kind of hiding here. So I figured I'd show you guys that before I leave off, and I'll see you later. The 10 Commandments in a public place. So I don't know if you noticed there, but that's not the right list. In fact, people have been correcting this since they first discovered it. And if you want to see the list you're actually supposed to be following, why don't you check out Exodus 35, I believe it is, where it talks about keeping the Feast of Weeks, or the Festival of the Feast of Weeks. You know, harvest type festivals. Or what's the one about thou shalt not see the kid in its mother's milk? Talking about boiling baby goats alive in the milk of the mama goat. Yeah, these aren't things you normally hear about. But remember, most people don't read their Bible either. And they don't remember. In fact, the 10 Commandments is the second list. The first set is typically called the Covenant or the Commandments. And if you really want to get technical, I would still argue that some of those commandments in both lists seem to have additional commandments in them. They're not just one commandment. Some of them seem to have 2 or 3 commandments in them, almost. So, I would say that there's actually more than just 10 commandments. And if you hybridize the lists from both of them, well, you definitely have more than 10 then, so never really been 10 commandments. Yeah, but hopefully Christians will learn someday. I do possibly plan on doing something to actually educate people on the 10 Commandments and see if we can either get that removed or if we can put another one up that says, oops, we were wrong, this list should be broken. So here's a sledgehammer, go ahead, take a whack. Sounds like a good art installation to me. But then, if it was art, I wouldn't want to destroy it. Darn! We'll see what happens. I'll keep you posted on that too. I might try and start up a petition or just poll people about it. Everyone really seemed interested in it though. Oh! And I forgot to mention the thing that happened with the water. Okay, so every year I've been giving away free water. Ice cold, bottled water. Ever since the first year when they threatened to arrest me and call cops on me, and I said, I'm not selling water, I'm giving it away for free, and I'm only doing a poll. These are just questions that I'm asking. I'm not trying to start anything. I'm not trying to protest you. Don't worry. Well, I went in, gave some money to a guy who said he needed some money for gas. That's no problem with that. But I gave questionnaires to 2 people who had been performers, and they said if anyone asks questions, come and find us, we're going to load up our van, we got to get out of here and get to our next show. So I handed them questionnaires, they agreed to take it, but I had to walk into the event to do that. Guy immediately runs over and starts yelling at me. He's like, I told you to stay out, we'll call the cops on you, you'll be arrested, you'll spend a night in jail. And I'm like, look, they invited me in, they just said it on stage in the microphone where everyone could hear that I could come in too and ask questions because I have questions, literally printed out questions. I'm not selling anything. He's like, well, you can't be selling anything because you didn't buy a license for this event. And I'm like, yeah, I know. I'm not trying to sell anything. I'm not trying to step on anyone's toes. I'm trying to do this because it's going to be a hot day and you guys need water. You can't be dehydrated. That's a bad thing. I'm the good guy here. And they said, okay, well, when they're done with those questions, you get out and you stay out. So that's why I'm always by the shit boxes, because that's the only place they'll let me set up. And who knows? They were watching me like a hawk this year. I had a little kid come up, tried to get a bottle of water from me, and I had already given out tons of bottled water. I didn't have any left. And his parents had given him $1 to give to me, and gives it to me. He's like, I want a bottle of water. And I'm like, I can't take donations. I can't take money, and I'm out of water. I'm so sorry. So he was a little let down, but he got a soda later, so he was probably a lot better. And then another guy came up, and he goes, and I think he's going to shake my hand. He puts $5 in it, and I'm like, whoa, dude, I can't take this. And he's like, no, I'm paying for that water we got. I'm like, no, I can't take this as payment. I cannot take this as payment. He's like, then take it as a donation. I'm like, I can't take it as a donation. He's like, take it as a tip. I'm like, I can't take it as a tip. And he's like, well, why not? And I told him because they're watching me like a hawk, and if I take money for this, they're going to say that I'm taking money and profiting off an event that I don't have a license for. And they're going to call the cops on me. He's like, well, they wouldn't do that. I'm like, they've told me as much. The only reason why I'm allowed to be here is because I'm just asking questions and giving free water. That's the truth. If I take money they will call the cops. They've told me that much. Not the most Christian thing to do, is it? Especially when you say all faiths welcome. But I guess atheism really isn't a faith. It's a lack thereof. But yeah. And I don't even know if they were trying to set me up either. I don't want to think they are, because I'm not usually a crazy conspiracy guy, but it was weird. It was Faithfest. What do you expect?